Can everybody hear me? Okay. We're going to start the evening, and I'm just going to go with a few announcements, general announcements for people that might not have been here. Of course, the restrooms are over here. There's like little baked goodies and stuff in the back, coffees, teas, and everything that you can take up on whenever you have your chance. A few announcements towards what's going to be up and coming the next months. Our next one is going to be July 20th. That correlates with the Emmaus Community Days. And that's going to be our picnic. And everybody's invited, presenters and all especially. And we're going to show like things that we had done through the rest of the year. And if there are any other presenters that come, they can talk with you. You can come meet. We're going to have that as kind of like our advertising to help join our group, promote it, and get it going. And that's a Saturday. That's a different day. It's on a Saturday. And you can look that up. We have it on our website too. If anybody has access to that, you can check that out. We'll send another email on it. August 20th is going to be a talk on Common Core. That's a federally mandated program for a school. It's kind of like the No Child Left Behind, but it's what's taking over, I guess, instead of it. So that should be a good one to see. We're going to have Mrs. Peg looks at. She was actually a gubernatorial candidate a couple of years ago for Pennsylvania, and she's very, very knowledgeable on this topic. And that'll be Tuesday, third Tuesday. And then in September, we're going to have 3 days. September 17th, which is a Tuesday, 18th and 19th, and that's going to be our candidates night. Again, for the general election coming up. And we'll invite all the candidates that people from East Penn School District geographic area can vote for. So the county commissioners, local races, school board will be another big one. So we'll probably have the candidates for the High County commissioners come on the first day, the 17th, Tuesday. The school board will be the Wednesday, and then local kind of candidates on the Thursday after that. We're still working on that a little bit. Again, all of these are recorded. We have a little recorder in the back, and we'll tape all of them. And you can go to a website that we have that hosts it and see it on the Cepta site too. So anybody that you know, afterwards you can go and tell them to go to the site. We'll send an email out for everybody too to get that information to you. And now we'll start the meeting, and I'm going to have my wife actually do a little invocation first, and then we'll do the pledge to the flag, and talk some more on what's going on.
Let us pray. Almighty God, who has given us a land where we are free, thank you for the opportunity to gather this evening to honor those who have served our country in the armed services and in public service. Let your protection be upon all those who are in the service of our country. Guard them from all harm and danger of body and soul. Sustain and comfort those at home, especially in their hours of loneliness, anxiety, and sorrow. Give success to our arms on land and sea and in the air, and grant unto us and all nations a speedy, just, and lasting peace. And we ask that you make each of us a channel of your peace. Where there is hatred, let us sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is darkness, light. And where there is sadness, joy. We thank you for our speakers and the experiences that they share. May we learn from them and spread the word of freedom. We ask this in your name. Amen.
Thank you very much. Now if you could all join me in the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'm going to start off the meeting with, actually we're going to dedicate this whole meeting to a friend of mine and a veteran that was a long-time member of Cepta, as it turns out. Robert Kaufman. He passed away just a few weeks ago, and he was in World War II and has 2 Purple Hearts, wounded in action twice, and Bronze Star for bravery. And he had a movie that he had made that I'd like to show you. And it'll explain basically the essence of this whole meeting. It's the memory and honor of those that served, especially in the military. And this would also go for civil service too, a lot passed into that also. So I'll try to play this. Give me a minute till I get going.
In the course of a lifetime, I'm sure that most of us along the way will have a transforming moment when we see something from a perspective that we had never seen before. And that happened to me back in 1999 when my sister, Dolly, my brother-in-law, Gerald, asked me to take them to Europe to visit the places where I had been during the war. But several years earlier, I met a lady by the name of Betty Thompson. I was introduced to her by her nephew. And Betty Thompson lost her first young husband on Omaha Beach on D-Day. And I had a telephone conversation with Betty before we left for Europe. And she asked whether during my stay in Normandy would I visit this cemetery and visit the grave of her fallen husband. I told her I would be honored to do so. So in the fall of the year, the three of us flew to Brussels, and then from Brussels we drove to the Ardennes, the scene of the Battle of the Bulge, toured the area. I met with wonderful Belgian friends that I have. And as I had done in several previous visits, I drove to the Henry Chapelle Cemetery in Belgium and visited there because a number of my friends and comrades are buried in that cemetery from my division. We then drove to Normandy, to the town of Bayeux where we would stay. And in Bayeux, we visited a floral shop where I purchased a single red rose to place on the grave of Donald Wenzel. I thought that would be more eloquent. We then drove to the Normandy Cemetery, which is situated on a bluff that overlooks Omaha Beach. And we were very fortunate in that we had as our guide a young lady who was very knowledgeable and very articulate. And because of the size of the cemetery, she would drive us to the grave site in her car. And she had with her a small American flag, a small French flag, and a Polaroid camera. And then as we stood and knelt by the grave of Donald Wenzel, she placed a flag on either side of that white marble cross. And then I laid that solitary rose on his grave. And all the while, she was telling us things about that cemetery. There are over 9,000 young Americans buried here. And we were shocked. But at that time, she said, there were 38 sets of brothers buried here. There were 33 sets of brothers that were buried side by side. And that really cut me to the quick, because my own dear wife had lost two brothers. One in North Africa with the 1st Division and the second one on a destroyer off of Okinawa, when a twin-engine kamikaze slammed into the forward #1 gun turret. And of course, there was nothing found of him in the building. And then, as I had done in previous visits to various cemeteries, I walked along alone among those crosses. And I thought again how fortunate I had been. And I thought especially by the grace of God, what happened to me here in Normandy. This cemetery should be my current address. And I thought how greatly God had blessed me. He blessed me with a lovely wife, 3 handsome children, 8 wonderful grandchildren. But then I multiplied 9,000 crosses times 50 years, and you come away with a staggering total of at least 450,000 unlived years represented in this one cemetery. 450,000 unlived years, with all of the potential of each life and of each year. But then I wondered, why was it, of all the cemeteries I had visited, especially the Henry Chapelle, why was it that it was always this Normandy cemetery that evoked such a deep emotional response within me? Then something occurred to me. You see, the cemetery at Henry Chapelle lies in a setting of almost perfect peace and tranquility. I said, even the birds seem to whisper when they fly overhead. But Normandy is different. And the difference is the waves. It is the sound of the waves. It is the unrelenting sound of those waves as they wash ashore at Omaha Beach. And I thought again of the young man whose grave we had visited. And then I thought again of my own life. I thought of the many, many, many blessings that have accrued to me over these more than 50 intervening years. And it was then that it seemed that those waves had a very powerful, a very severe, and a very personal warning to me, telling me, don't you ever, ever forget the magnitude of the sacrifice that was made by just that one young man. And then it seemed that each wave still carried with it all of the horror and all of the terror of the last few moments of that young man's life. And each wave all seemed to carry with it the sound of a bell tolling out another and another and another of his unlived years. And each succeeding wave bore the painful reminder that unlike me, that young man would never experience the fathomless pride of fathering a precious son and daughter. And each succeeding wave had the reaffirming reminder that unlike me, that young man will never know the blessings of old age. And unlike me, he will never have that proud experience of just holding and hugging and kissing a beloved grandson or granddaughter. But then I saw another wave, and on its crest were the scattered petals of a crushed rose, the painful remembrance of the anguish of the wounded and broken heart of that young, loving wife that will never mend. And as those waves come sweeping in toward the shore, they each gently and reverently kiss the sands of this beach. Because to me, those waves also represent the tears of a nation that is weeping for its young. And the unrelenting sound of those waves is God's eternal reminder of the enormity of the sacrifice that was paid for our freedom. And I would like to cry out to all those young men buried beneath those white crosses, you were robbed. Indeed, you were robbed of the most sublime gift that we possess. You were robbed of your very lives. But dear young men, we too were robbed. We were robbed of you. We were robbed of your love. We were robbed of your hopes, your dreams, and your aspirations. And yes, dear young men, we were robbed of the thousands of precious sons and daughters that you never even had the privilege to father, and who would have borne the very image of your greatness. And we were robbed of those thousands upon thousands of unborn grandsons and granddaughters that you will never kiss, you will never hold, and you will never hug. And they will never know the magnitude of your sacrifice. Yes, dear young men, we were all robbed by that terrible, that insidious thief called war. wondered what more could I say to bring comfort to Betty Thompson and to my own dear wife who has suffered such terrible loss, except to repeat the words to the anthem. Oh, beautiful, for heroes proved in liberating strife, who more than self their country loved, and mercy more than life. America, America, God shed his grace on thee and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. Amen. God bless all of you.
It's a pretty moving video. Again, it speaks pretty much. Pretty much to the essence of this program. We're lucky to have two other speakers with us, actually three. And if I could start off with Brian Smith. Brian Smith served with the United States Marine Corps in the 3rd Recon Battalion from 83 to 88 as a radio operator and NCOIC of radio vehicles in Okinawa, Japan, and 29 Palms, California, where he received the Unit Citation Headquarters, Marine Corps, Washington, D.C. Proud Gold Star father of Sergeant Joshua S. Smith, USMC 2003 to 11, who served as Color Sergeant at Camp Pendleton, California, and Kahio Bay, Hawaii. Joshua also served in 2005 to 2006 in Operation Enduring Freedom in Afghanistan. He sadly lost his battle with PTSD and TBI on November 12th. And then we have Carol Resch, too, who I would consider to be probably the highest ranking person that's going to be speaking. So I'll give it now to Brian Smith.
Thank you. A little hard to follow up something like that. Wow. Good evening. As you know, my name is Brian Smith. I'm a Marine who served in the 80s. I am a member of the Patriot Guard, Rolling Thunder, Chapter 8, and also a Gold Star father. As being a Gold Star father is no easy task. I am here to support my wife, Nancy, and my daughter, Jen. We are a Gold Star family, honoring our fallen warriors with our Gold Star members in the area and around the nation. And we also support each other. Just a brief from Memorial Day weekend, the Lehigh Valley Gold Star Mother families, along with Rolling Thunder, Chapter 8, went down to Rolling Thunder 26 in Washington, D.C. While there, we participated in a candlelight vigil for the Gold Star Mothers, and also the Sunday Ride for Freedom, which was attended by more than 1 million people. It was very humbling to honor our loved ones in this way. Just a brief history lesson on how the Gold and Blue Star Mothers came to be. I don't want to touch too much on this because this is Carol's birthday. It all started in 1918, World War I. When men went off to war, a blue star was hung in the window of their home to acknowledge this. Unfortunately, when a service member passed, they then became the Gold Star. On January 5th, 1929, the Gold Star Mothers were formed. While we're on the subject of flags, in this day and age, flag etiquette is always questioned. We are a very patriotic family and fly an American flag at our house with a Marine Corps flag under it. That flag is always lit at all times. How many people watch an NFL football game and see them unfurl that big flag across the field and think, boy, that was neat? Big no-no, believe it or not. Public Law 98 states that the U.S. flag should never be carried on the horizontal, but should always be aloft and free. The flag is very important to our family. My son Joshua was a color sergeant in Hawaii and Camp Pendleton, California. The color sergeant is the Marine that leads and carries the American flag. We see that group of 4 Marines in parades and ceremonies. He was very proud of this duty, and we were very proud of him. He also served in Afghanistan as a diesel mechanic and a convoy driver. Unfortunately, his convoy was hit by an IED, and the vehicle in front of him took a direct hit. His vehicle was also hit. My son came home from Afghanistan with traumatic brain injury, and PTSD. Unfortunately, November of last year, Josh lost his battle with PTSD and took his own life. Suicide among service members and our vets is at an epidemic level. On the average, 22 service veterans are taking their lives every day. Many suffer from disorders like PTSD. For those of you who don't know what PTSD is, it's an anxiety disorder that is often associated with combat veterans and individuals following exposure to an extremely traumatic event. Symptoms of PTSD include nightmares, flashbacks, triggers of physical and psychological stressors, difficulty sleeping, and irritability. For a PTSD victim, brain functions are affected in handling memory and emotion. And the person commonly experiences little joy, has poor memory and judgment, and little planning and executive powers. Some say PTSD is like a mallard duck. Pretty good example, really. It looks graceful on the top of the water, but under the water, it's fighting to stay afloat. Josh was an honored color sergeant, wonderful son, brother, grandson, friend, and father. What PTSD did to him is such a tragedy to so many of us. Upon leaving the Marine Corps, you are required to do a self-assessment package. Our son stated in his package that he was experiencing fatigue, lack of sleep, nightmares, severe headaches, depression, frequent pain in his hand from another sustained injury over in Afghanistan. It was also documented that he was going to apply for VA disability. This was done in July 2011. This issue was not addressed by the military upon Josh's leaving the Marine Corps. This is the reason why we need a marriage between the Department of Defense and the VA. After returning home and spending months going to the VA for treatment, Josh was approved for his VA benefits on November 5th, 2012, the day that he took his life. 16 months is too long for a gap when these service people are giving their lives to our country and are usually in financial despair until the VA and our government act. This also lays a heavy burden on family and friends surrounding these individuals. More than 900,000 vets of all generations are stuck in a bureaucratic backlog that in 2013 is almost too absurd to believe. We are working with government officials to get their problems resolved so other families don't have to go through this. Our brothers and sisters deserve support for their sacrifices, and every single American should stand with us to end the VA backlog once and for all. On behalf of myself, my family, our fallen warriors, I would like to thank you for this opportunity to speak. God bless our great nation and the heroes who fought and have fought for it and our freedom. Guard the gates of heaven. Good night.
Now it's okay. Carol, you want to come up and speak?
I am also a Gold Star mother. My son, Captain Mark Resch, was killed in Iraq January 28, 2007. He was in a reconnaissance mission. He was an Apache pilot, and he was shot down. Gold Star mother, the definition of a Gold Star mother is a mother whose child has given his life for his country, or because of his country he has lost his life. So anytime you see a soldier or somebody PTSD, their family became part of an organization that nobody wants to join. But we do have a local Gold Star Mother chapter. We just recently became very active, and we are there to support each other and try to help other veterans in any way that we can. We have started visiting the nursing homes and really working with our veterans and trying to make some of their days special. Our Gold Star Mothers is also a fundraising group for Wreaths Across America. Wreaths Across America is an organization that puts wreaths on veterans' graves at Christmas time. I was able to make the trek from Maine down to Arlington National Cemetery in 2011, where we placed over 100,000 wreaths on veterans' graves down there. They did this past year over 400,000 wreaths worldwide. I took on the responsibility as a location leader to do Cedarville Memorial Park in Allentown, Pennsylvania. Last year was our first year, and we did over 2,200 wreaths that day. We're also doing it again this year. Like I said, Gold Star Mothers is one of our fundraising groups, and hopefully this year we can do the whole cemetery. The mission of Wreaths Across America is to remember the
next speaker is the Sergeant Major John Heath. Right away. He's a native of Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. He joined the Marine Corps on November 7, 1986. Upon completion of the recruit training at honor graduate at MCRD, Harris Island, South Carolina, February 87, Private First Class Heath reported to Fort Pitt, Oklahoma, for Field Artilleryman School. Upon completion of the school, he was transferred to Battery I, 3rd Battalion, 14th Marines, 4th Marine Division, Reading, Pennsylvania. December 1990, Sergeant Heath was mobilized along with Battery I and was deployed. I'm saying that it's I, it's not Y. Okay. Battery I was deployed to the Persian Gulf and attached to the 3rd Battalion, 12th Marines, 1st Marine Division to support task forces Grizzly and Ripper in operations Desert Shield, Desert Storm, as a howitzer section chief. Upon demobilization of the SNCR in April 1991, Sergeant Heath returned to Battery I and was held the following billets: Guns Platoon Sergeant, Local Security Chief, NBCN COIC, Director of the in-house NCO School, and Battery Gunnery Sergeant. In March of 1988, Gunnery Sergeant Heath deployed to Harstad, Norway, along with Battery I to participate in the 1st Marine Artillery live fire sheet since 1978 during the NATO exercise Operation Strong Resolve. In 1999, 1st Sergeant Heath was assigned to Company A, 4th Amphibious Assault Battalion, 4th Marine Division, Norfolk, Virginia. In 2002, 1st Sergeant Heath was assigned to Battery I, 3rd Battalion, 14th Marines, 4th Marine Division, Reading, Pennsylvania. In 2003, 1st Sergeant Heath was assigned as an acting battalion sergeant, Major 3rd Battalion, 14th Marines, 4th Marine Division, Philadelphia, PA. And in March of 2004, Sergeant Major Heath was assigned as Battalion Sergeant Major for the 6th Motor Transport Battalion, 4th Marine Logistics Group, Red Bank, New Jersey. And then in September 2004, Sergeant Major Heath was activated and assigned to Inspector Instructor Sergeant Major of the 6th MTBM. And in July 2005, he deployed and was assigned to the MARCENT, Marine Central Command, Camp Sergeant Major for Camp Lemonnier. I'm sorry about that one too. Djibouti, Africa, supporting the combined Joint Task Force Horn of Africa during the Operations Enduring Freedom. Upon returning from Africa, he resumed the position of both the I and Battalion Sergeant Major for the 6th MTBM. In March 2008, Sergeant Major Heath was assigned to the Group Sergeant Major for Marine Aircraft Group 49, Willow Grove, Pennsylvania. On February 28, 2010, Sergeant Major Heath retired after 23 years, 4 months of service. Sergeant Major Heath's personal awards include Meritorious Service Medal with Gold Star, Navy, Marine Corps Commendation Medal with 2 Gold Star, Navy Achievement Medal and Combat Action Ribbon. He's also a recipient of the St. Barbara's Artilleryman's Medal, and he's married to his bride of 24 years, the former Gabrielle Otto of Center Valley, Pennsylvania, and they have 1 daughter, Nicole. And I'd like to bring him up to speak for us, if he could.
Good evening. First and foremost, I want to say thank you to John and his cohort, Gio in the back, for giving me the opportunity to speak to you here tonight. I must admit, I pondered for the last several weeks what I wanted to discuss with you and talk with you about tonight. I didn't know if I wanted to send you off with a good feeling or, as a Marine, a more realistic feeling. Unfortunately for you, it's the latter. It will be more of a realistic feeling tonight. It was November 22nd, 1943. We're about 2 years into World War II. The United States industrial machine has ramped up. We are creating ships, planes, tanks, the whole 9 yards, training our servicemen and women to go overseas and do the business of our country. Up until November 1943, there had been no opposed beachhead assaults. Normandy would have been the first for the Army in 1944, but in 1943, the island hopping campaign began with an area called the Gilbert Islands. The Marines were sent to invade an island known as Tarawa, actually Bayshore, a little island attached to Tarawa Atoll, the Gilbert Islands. On November 22nd, 1943, the Marines stormed the beachhead against the Japanese forces. The Japanese commanding officer on that island stated that they fortified the island with concrete, machine gun bunkers, the whole thing, so well that it would take 1 million Marines 100 years to take that island. The Marines wanted to test this theory, so they went in. Unfortunately for the Marines, something bad was going to happen in a couple hours. The first wave went in with the Amtraks. The Amtrak, you've seen them all in the war movies, they have the tracks with the open head. The Marines all get in, they hit the beach, they all jump out the sides, they're on the beachhead. It's a good piece of gear. Problem is there weren't enough of them. Only the first wave of Marines could ride on the Amtraks, and they did just that. They got to the beachhead, they landed, all hell broke loose. The Japanese were prepared for them. It was very ugly. The Marines were holding their own. They weren't sure if they could hold it or not, but they knew that the second wave was coming right behind them. Unfortunately, the second wave was not in the Amtraks. They were in the flat-bottomed Higgins boats or Mike boats, all made famous in the movie Private Ryan. You've all seen it. They come, the ramp goes down, they all run off. This is a flat-bottomed boat. Unknown to the planners of this major operation, an astrological phenomenon occurs around the Tarawa area once a year. They didn't know it occurred in November, and it happened to occur that day. It's called a neap tide, N-E-P. The neap tide is when there's extreme withdrawal of water off the island, a bad withdrawal. The first wave is on the island getting help from the Japanese. The second wave is coming in with these flat-bottomed boats. The neap tide draws out these flat-bottomed boats, hit the coral reef, 500 yards off the beachhead. They have to attack it. The Marines, knowing that the fellow Marines are getting butchered up front, have got to get there. They make the decision, we're going to get out of the Higgins boats and wade in. The Marines hop out of the boats, they have chest-high water with the rifles above their heads. They wade in 500 meters, that's 5 football fields, under the most hellacious machine gun and anti-aircraft gun, yes. The Japanese saw the Marines coming in, they took their 75mm anti-aircraft guns that they shoot down aircraft with, they leveled them with the water, and right across the water. It was a slaughter. The Marines kept coming. We find ourselves at the point on Green Beach, behind an Amtrak, a destroyed Amtrak. War correspondent Robert Sherrod, known throughout both Europe and the Pacific, one of the more famed correspondents of the war, not as much as Arnie Powell, but yet a well-famed correspondent, wrote in his memoirs that as he sits behind this Amtrak, machine gun fire, ricocheting off of everything, he looks out over the sea and it's now red. It's no longer blue, it's red, with all the Marine blood out there. He spots Marines trying to make their way in, and for whatever reason, he focuses on this one Marine. And he's coming in, but he doesn't have his hands with his rifle over his head trying to keep his ammo dry. His arms are down as he's coming in this high water, and he's moving very slow. He watches for fixation, for whatever reason, this Marine. He keeps coming in and coming in. And of course, as you move closer to shore, the water drops down. This Marine now is standing tall in the water. Other Marines, their rifles are now down, they're hunched, they're trying to dodge. This Marine is just coming straight, and it's very slow and lethargic. He gets about waist level. Robert Sherrod realizes this Marine has his rifle slung over his back, and he's carrying 2 crates in his hand. And he keeps coming and keeps coming. He's now a large target in the water. Sherrod's thinking to himself, get down. What are you thinking? And with that, about 100 meters off the beach, the Marine gets hit, and he goes down. Sherrod, trying to cut his composure after what he just saw, looks back, and the Marine gets back up, reaches into the water, grabs his 2 boxes, and keeps moving forward, coming into the beach. He's thinking to himself, God, drop those things, get in here. He keeps coming closer, now about knee high. These heavy crates are dragging him down. He gets hit again. He goes down again. Sherrod thinks, well, this is it. The Marine's gone. He tried his best. Well, we all know Marines. Does this young Marine get back up, 2 bullets in him now, grabbing these crates, and keeps moving into shore. He's about 30 feet, 20 feet from Sherrod. Sherrod musters up the courage, darts out of cover from behind the blown-up Amtrak, grabs the Marine and drags him back. Still dragging, the Marine won't let go of the boxes. It drags him in, and he looks at him and says, what in the hell are you doing? The Marine, obviously extremely exhausted from the struggle of 500 yards of heavy water, hit twice, looks at him and says, I heard that the Marines on the beach needed ammunition. I had to get it to them. We'll get back to that Marine in a second. I like getting together with people at times and talking to them, saying, what's your favorite time of year? Come to the conversation at picnics or just at the office or what have you. What's your favorite time of year? 95 to 98% of Americans will say, well, especially women, no independent ladies, the holidays. They love that 5-week period between Thanksgiving and New Year's and what have you. The festivity, the family, the get together, breaking bread at Thanksgiving, looking back at the year, what we endured, the New Year's, the future, what the next year, upcoming year holds. Of course, Christmas, or Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, whatever it may be, the holiday festive season. For me, this is my favorite time of year, right here, right now. This pocket between Memorial Day and July 4th. I'll be up in a couple of weeks. We just celebrated Flag Day. It's a very patriotic, loving time of year for someone who, like me, has a bit of a background. I was 11, going on 12, almost my daughter's age, back in 1976 when the country celebrated the bicentennial. 200 years is a magnificent nation. As an 11, 12-year-old boy, you're very influential. Everything around you suck up like a sponge. It becomes part of your soul and spirit of what you are. The country embraced the bicentennial, but they did it differently. Usually, as Americans, we're very boisterous. We're very in-your-face about our celebration of who we are. Look at our Super Bowl victories, our World Series victories. Look at us, we're the best. But we just came off of Vietnam the year before, 1975. Though our military did a phenomenal job over there, it didn't come out as proud as we wanted to. It was tough for the country, but we still had a 200th anniversary to celebrate. So we did it very humbly as a nation. And instead of saying, look how darn good we are, we said, look where we came from. Look what we did. Look at the struggle. Look at the hardship. Look at the odds that were against us. Yet we did it. We were the only, in history, the only country ever to leave the mother country and say, you know what, we've had enough of you, and fight our way out of it. People don't realize and think about it, but the British Empire at that time was the superpower. We're this little fledgling country said, no, we're kind of done with you. That would be like Guam right now, or one Providence out in the Pacific saying, the United States, we're done with you. We say when we're our massive Army and Marine Corps saying, no, you're not. So Guam kicking our butt. But that's what we did with the British Empire. So, I love the 4th of July, this time of year. Again, the bicentennial, you learn a lot about our history. Then on top of that, as a young boy, on Sunday nights we gathered at my grandparents' house, my grandmother, old woman, God bless her. And my father and his 3 older brothers would come and they'd bring their kids. So the whole horde would go up there. And after dinner, the women, my nieces, my cousins who were, and their wives, and we'd all stay in the kitchen with my grandmother, helping her clean up and talk about women things. All the men folk, while my grandfather would head to the living room, sit down in front of the old boxwood console TV, and of course on Sunday evening, most of you remember, some of you might remember, not all, we turn on Marlon Perkins' Mutual of Omaha, Wild Kingdom. You watch the lions eat the guy and everything else, it was all great. But after that came on that haunting music documentary, World at War. Black and white documentary, about 28 parts, hosted by Laurence Olivier, talking about the history of World War II from beginning to end. Every week was a different episode, a different situation. I remember as a little boy laying on the floor watching this thing unfold before me. My two uncles, one, my father's older brothers, one was on Omaha Beach, who made it off the beach, June 6, 1944. The other who fought in the Pacific. They would sit there and banter back and forth. You know, what happened, what was right, what was wrong with this. That documentary reason right there, you don't have men are, this isn't the way it was. I was there, I can tell you everything. As a boy, you're just amazed by this. We're celebrating the bicentennial. My uncles are going on. I fell in love with my country. Love my country. That flag and what it represents and everything it's about. It's magnificent. My wife and I were fortunate to buy a house here in East Bend back in 1996. One of the first things we did was we built a deck in the back. We want to have a party. I told my wife, I got to have a 4th of July party. Following my house, my deck, my party, my steaks, I want a 4th of July party. She says, no problem. And we went balls to the wall. Big party, 40 people over, what have you. Hung my flags out. I'm a proud Marine. However, on my deck, as you walked up to my deck, I had easels sitting there with a framed, mounted copy of the Declaration of Independence. I thought, if you're going to come and celebrate the birth of my nation on the 4th of July, it's not going to be about burgers and beer and hot dogs and softball and horseshoes. You better know why you're coming to my house. That piece of paper right there. Next to that piece of paper, I had another easel with a frame-mounted copy of the story of what happened to our 56 brave men who signed that Declaration of Independence. People take it for granted that 56 men sat there down in Philadelphia, about 45 miles from here. They said, no, we're done with England. And I'm going to tell you how much I'm done. I'm going to put my name on this. And there you go, King George. They knew when they signed that piece of paper, they were signing their own death warrant. Yet they signed it. I usually don't read when I'm talking to the crowd, but I want to make sure I get this right so you understand exactly where I'm coming from. Of the signers, 5 signers were captured by the British as traitors and tortured before they died. 12 of their homes were ransacked and burned. 2 lost their sons serving in the Revolutionary Army. Another had 2 sons captured. 9 of the 56 fought and died from wounds or hardships of the Revolutionary War. They signed and pledged their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor. What kind of men were they? 24 were lawyers and jurists. 11 were merchants. 9 were farmers and large plantation owners. Men of means, well educated. But they signed the Declaration of Independence knowing full well that the penalty would be death if they were captured. Carter Braxton of Virginia, a wealthy planter and trader, saw his ships swept from the seas by the British Navy. He sold his home and properties to pay his debts and died in rags. Thomas McCain was so hounded by the British that he was forced to move his family almost constantly. He served in Congress without pay. And his family was kept in hiding. His possessions were taken from him, and poverty was his reward. Vandals or soldiers looted the properties of Dillery, Hall, Clyburn, Walton, Gwinnett, Hayward, Rutledge, and Middleton. At the Battle of Yorktown, Thomas Nelson Jr. noted that the British General Cornwallis had taken over Nelson's home and used it for his headquarters. He quietly urged General George Washington to open fire. His home was destroyed, and Nelson died bankrupt. Francis Lewis had his home and his properties destroyed. The enemy jailed his wife, and she died within a few months. John Hart was driven from his wife's bedside while she was dying. Their 13 children fled for their lives. His fields in Gristmill were laid to waste. For more than a year, he lived in forests and caves, returning home to find his wife dead, and his children vanished. A few weeks later, he died from exhaustion and broken heart. Norris and Livingston suffered similar fates. Such were the stories of sacrifices in the American Revolution. These were not wild-eyed, rabble-rousing ruffians. They were soft-spoken men of means and education. They had security, but they valued liberty more. Standing tall, straight, and unwavering, they pledged for the support of this declaration with firm reliance on the protection of a divine providence. We mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortune, and our sacred honor. We came back from our last appointment in 2006 in Djibouti, Africa. I saw over there. There's a shadow in my memory on the Louise. Since then, I have not had one 4th of July party. Not because I don't love my nation. I haven't lost faith in my country, nor my flag, or the men and women I have the privilege to serve. I never had much faith in the politicians, so it really doesn't bother me too much. They come and go like a pimple on your forehead. The cream, they disappear. I've lost faith in the American people, and that's hard. I've got good men and women under my leadership in the Marine Corps who were willing to, and some who did give their lives for this country and the people that live here. But I don't think the American people truly appreciate what those men and women have done. They don't want to thank you. I know I don't want to thank you. They'll say, thank you for serving. Thank you. I did it because I love my country. I believe in what we did. It was a magnificent nation. I believe in it. All I ask is don't forget. Like the Marine on Tarawa we spoke of, or like these 56 brave signers, the selfless sacrifice. These men and women are willing to step up to the plate and give you everything because they believe in the country and the life yet you lived. And they sacrifice and are willing to sacrifice for them. They don't want to thank you. They just don't want to be forgotten. That's all they ask. And I'm going to call you out. This is going to upset some of you. It's not my intention. But I need you to hear me loud and clear. I'll make a bet with any one of you right now. 20 bucks in my pocket. I'll even double it to 40 if you want. As I come in here, I looked at back some vehicles and I saw the Go Phillies stickers, Eagles, Flyers, Sixers. Even somebody had a Yankees fan out there. I know where that guy came from, but it's out there. I'll bet you this. You can tell me the starting lineup of the Phillies right now. First, second, third, fourth, shortstop, the whole 9 yards. What the ERA is, what the batting average is, who's got the most RBIs, who's got the best passing yardage, who's got the best rushing yardage, who scored how many goals in the Stanley Cup last season. That's wonderful. I'm glad for it. But do you realize that since 2001, beginning of this war on 9/11, 9 brave servicemen, 4 soldiers, 3 Navy SEALs, and 1 Marine, have gone above and beyond what any human being could possibly expect. They did their country proud. This is the most hellacious time in their life, and the most stressful, anxiety-ridden situation. They did with valor and honor and courage that they felt necessary to make those 9 brave men recipients of the Medal of Honor. The highest honor this country has to offer. 9 men since 9/11 have received the Medal of Honor. And I'd be willing to bet you can't name one of them. Why? I thought we said we support our troops. We believe in our troops. Whether we believe in the war or not, I appreciate that. I won't even go there. How could these brave men, 9 of them, 7 of them posthumously receive the award? Award, I hate using that name for the Medal of Honor. It's not an award. Nobody wants to win the Medal of Honor. It's a gold medal. The fact of the matter is, 9 received it, and you don't know one of the names. Don't feel too bad, because I guarantee no one in the mace does. Guarantee no one in Lehigh Valley does. Very few, if any. The question is, why? Back in World War II, everybody knew John Barcelona, a Marine who received the Medal of Honor at Guadalcanal. Later was killed on Iwo Jima because he was the only Medal of Honor recipient who ever decided, determined, to petition Congress to go back into combat. That doesn't happen. Once you receive the Medal of Honor, you stay home, or you stay back and do rallies and supports. Barcelona said, no, I'm a Marine, I will be with my Marines. He was back into combat and was killed on Iwo Jima. Everybody knew the name Audie Murphy, the most highest decorated soldier in World War II. Everybody knew the name Mitchell Page, another Marine who received the Medal of Honor in Guadalcanal. Why back then was it so important? You know, these were the heroic names, not Michael Vick. Why now? Back then, you would go to the movies, and they would show you in real time, saying, this is what's happening. And the commentator would come on and say, our glorious troops stormed the beach today, fighting the vicious hunt of the German Nazi army. With your help and your support, we'll beat the struggle, ramping up our troops, making them sound like Supermen. Not today. Why? So I don't hold it against you, the fact that you don't know those 9 names. Ironically, I feel horrible because I know for a fact that a year from now, Diana Sawyer is going to come on ABC and she's going to have a special. Growing Up Kardashian, Kim Kardashian's baby 1 year later. As if Kim Kardashian is so gosh special. I'd like to see Miss Sawyer say to her face, where is your 2-hour special talking about these 9 brave men who have received the Medal of Honor? I will say this. I can't change Diana Sawyer in the way the media looks at things. That's not my intent. But I promise you, it will change here in my life. God has blessed me not only with the most beautiful woman a man could ever want to marry, but with a daughter who is the apple of my eye. Not only is she smart, but she listens. God, thank you, keep it that way. But the fact of the matter is, since she was about, as a proud father, in 3rd grade, my daughter had me write a book report. Read a book, 8 years old. Kids read, you know, My Dog Sam, My Dog Pete. Some kid actually ramped up and read something about the Phillies or wrote a book report about the Phillies. My daughter, after many conversations prior to this book report, comes to me, proud as a peacock. She said, Daddy, I found the book I want to write my book report on. I said, what's that, sweetheart? She says, at 8 years old, I'm going to write my book report on Anne Frank. Anne Frank? You're going to read Anne Frank in middle school, maybe high school. She said, no, Anne Frank. And we're not talking the abbreviated version that you get in school. We're talking the Anne Frank book. My daughter read it about a week before I could come. And without a doubt, amazed her 3rd grade teacher that this young little child did. And she questioned me on this, my wife and I, that why? I said, because we talk to our daughter like an adult. She's still a child. And we hold her to standards that are expected. Because if you want to talk about the great generation was held to standards that today's people can't even comprehend. They whine when the satellite goes out. Try living in depression for 10 years too long. We raise our daughter with morals and values. You as parents or grandparents, it's your responsibility to teach the history of this country to your children, to your offspring. Sit them down. I don't care who wins the World Series. I don't care who wins the Super Bowl. It's irrelevant. If anybody can tell me who won the 2nd game of the NBA playoffs back in 1982, I'll buy you dinner right now. Is it really that freaking important? No. How much time is invested in watching sports, celebrities, these people, and what have you? Why don't the average person, why doesn't the average person know their history? Because that's why that flag represents what it does in the world. For some people, when they see a flag coming at them, they take a sigh of relief. Help us here. Some people, when they see that flag, holy cow, we're in trouble. But that's something. But because of our history, who we are, and what we've done, that flag is what it is. We start forgetting our history, where we have come from, and stop teaching our history. Between you and I don't trust anyone to teach my daughter history. I've been blessed. She has a good teacher this year, a man who sees things the way I see them. I like to read. I want to know. I want to know why something happened. That's because it happened. I want to know why. Know your history. It's your job to teach you friends, children, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren. History. Where we came from. Do we have black eyes? Better believe we have black eyes. Guess what? Every great empire did. Are we an empire? Not necessarily. Are we a superpower? Yes. But if we forget our history, we're going to lose it fast. People say to me, well, we're a superpower, great, but are we really as great as the dynasties of China, the great empire of England, what have you? And I say, well, let me ask you a question. Let me throw this proposition at you. Since the dawn of mankind, when you open up the Bible, if that's what your first leading discussion is of history, that's fine. If not, understanding, thanks to the Lord. Right. Take the spot. Mankind's gotten around the world by two means: horse and cart, oxen cart, donkey cart, man and cart, the wheel. Thousands of years, the Egyptians chased the Hebrew Jews across the Red Sea in chariots. Thousands of years ago. In the 1800s, our settlers raced across the West, stagecoach, buckboard, and horse. But in this country, after thousands of years of a wheel and horse and oxen cart, in 1903, two, for lack of better words, crazy knuckleheads out of North Carolina took one of their own built combustible engines, strapped it to some wood and canvas, and for a glorious 892 feet, 59 seconds long, had the first controlled manned flight. This country. You say, well, that's pretty good. But you had all this time to ramp up. Thousands of years to get there. I said, yeah. What? 66 years later, which is a speck of sand on the beach of time, this same country put a man on the moon. Wait a minute. Thousands of years, oxen cart, the whole world. The United States finally gets moving. Airplane, boom. In 66 years. If this is not a blessed nation, I don't know what is. There's something special about America. But if we forget our history, forget where we came from, we're going to lose it. It's your job to make sure you people know this. So I challenge you this. Come July 4th, and you will get together with your families. I know you will. I hope you have a great time. Be safe with it and enjoy it. But I pose you a challenge. Go on the internet, simply Google 56 signs of the Declaration of Independence, and it'll come up. Burn a copy of it off. Start handing it out. Read it. This is what happened to these brave men who had the courage to sign that piece of paper. These men, these movers and shakers of their time, but today's the equivalent of Donald Trump, Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, Lee Iacocca, Oprah Winfrey. She is a shaker and mover. You gotta give her that. Those men were those people today, Warren Buffett's. Do you think that those people would sign a piece of paper in unison and pledge for the support of this declaration and firm reliance and protection of the divine providence? We mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortune, and our sacred honor. Personally, I think being one of those people I mentioned have sacred honor. Don't even know what the words mean. And that's a shame. These men had courage beyond belief. These men and women had courage beyond belief. You, those who serve, courage. Those who have lost, given something. Courage beyond the belief that these people will ever possibly comprehend. You should be proud of yourselves and what you've given. Selfless sacrifice. That is what made this nation what it is. If we lose it, we forget it. We'll go on faster than you can possibly imagine. Take that with you tonight. Thank you very much for your time. I hope I didn't bore you. God bless you all. Cepta Usa.
Well, that concludes our meeting for the evening. Thanks for coming, and thank you very much for presenting. And Carol, you had some information over on the table over here that's based on the Gold Star information, and you're going to have a program too that's going to be given. If you want to say a little bit more about that specifically, you may.
Yeah, well, the Gold Star Mothers are having a basket social to benefit Reese across America on July 20th. We have
information on Gold Star Mothers over there if you kind of just want to read a little bit about what we're all about. And we also have forms if anybody wishes to donate.
Okay. Thank you again very much for coming. There's goodies in the back. If you want to just socialize around and ask questions with each other, please feel free. Take care.